Sorry, Mr. David Sharma, you dropped a message that the assignment link for the last assignment was not what? It was not correct, or it's not open, or it has been closed. Which of them, please? Mr. David, is that the assignment link for the last assignment is not, so the submission link for the last assignment is not opening, or it has been locked, or what exactly? Let me know. You
Yes,
did
sir.
not.
Okay.
Okay, you did not see. Okay, no problem. I'll speak to the sub mentor. They will have to be dropping for you guys again on the Discord channel. So but watch out for it. So that is cool.
Okay,
Fine.
sir. The, for the this thing again, for that assignment, the instruction was not really clear. Like again, like the instruction was not really clear. If not because we disturb them with messages on Discord channel, that's why they. Or maybe any time from now they should help us like a well explanatory this thing. If they want to just tell us what to do, that okay, for this we'll do this, for this we'll do this. The assignment wasn't self-explanatory.
Thank you. I get now. So what you guys were supposed to do was just that you create a GitHub repo for the assignment and copy it and place it on each of the answer section on the hands-on practice question. Do you get? That means not separate GitHub repo, it's just one single GitHub repo. We paste it on it. So from there, can really will grade your submission. So that is how it was meant to be. So no problem. We'll still speak with that pertaining that. So Mr. Oshoke, you can go on.
Yeah, I'm ready now. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's class. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend, and I hope the classes have been going well so far for you guys. So, the first thing we're going to be doing is like not really a recap, but if you have any topics that were taught last week that you didn't understand, that you want us to really brush over right now, you can just mention it, so I can just go over maybe certain topics that you learned that were not really clear to you. So I don't know if you have any, we can just do that quickly. Okay, Rufai.
Yes, sir. And this thing, the custom validity and toggling.
What?
I said custom validity and toggling.
Custom validity. I didn't hear you. Can you type it?
Okay. Okay.
What subject rule? Can you Rufai, please type it out.
Yeah, I'm going to type.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, please, if you can actually just um go through event propagation and event delegation for a few minutes to actually appreciate, because there are actually concepts in it that was not clear, and the materials, although it's not a yardstick, but if you can just do event propagation and event delegation, we really appreciate. Thank you.
Mhm. Rufai, what were you saying? Custom validity and toggling. What what is toggling? Can you like tell me what exactly like was taught in toggling? Because I'm not really sure what you mean by toggling. Hello?
So I think about the toggling and custom validity. Custom validity, we found it when we were doing, is it form delegation or something? And then form validation
Mm,
and toggling. I think there was one question in the practice question that told us to switch between disable and switching between the state of something using a button. Like when you click it, it will
Mm.
toggle and display something. If you do it again, then it will reappear, something like that. Or we are not taught in details.
Okay. Um. So the mentor just reached out to me that he's going to try and go over it again in the next class. So 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 I'll leave that for the mentor so that he can go over it with you guys again. So let's just so what else? So I can like tell him every other. So we mentioned custom validity and toggling, capturing, propagation, and delegation, right? Those are like the only those are the concepts that you had issues with, right? Okay, no problem. So I'll let the mentor. I'll tell the mentor he can go right again. So we can go on with today's class. So for today, we are going to be looking at some concepts, mainly ES6. Um, okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
So David Sharma, you raise your hand. I think I think it was a mistake. So these are the things we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at ES6, string methods, arrow functions, arrays, and array methods. So we have a slide for that. So yeah. So good morning, welcome everybody to this class once again. Thank you for joining the class, the boot camp so far. I know that there are some very consistent people that have been coming to the classes. I want to really appreciate you guys for taking out time to learn these new skills that are being taught in the boot camp. And I hope that it's going to be beneficial to you in your journey. So, first of all, we're going to be introduction to ES6 features. Also, the ES6 features that we have are string methods, array and array methods, and arrow functions. What is ES6? ES6 is called ECMAScript 2015. It is referred to 2015 because it was released in 2015. It's an updated version of JavaScript, making JavaScript code easier, faster, and more fun to write. Some of these cool features brought by ES6 are let and const. You remember how 2 weeks ago in my first class when we were talking about variables, I mentioned that var, the keyword var was used to initialize variables previously in the former versions of JavaScript. But with the events of ES6, we now make use of let and const. Then we also have template or string literals. So remember, we have done this before. There is default parameters, arrow functions, destructuring, spread and rest operators. That is what. So default parameters. Remember when I said whenever I don't know, I was not the one that taught you functions, but whenever you are creating functions, you can set default parameters. In case maybe a parameter is not passed, you can set the default to a value. That's what default parameters are. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is string methods in JavaScript. What are string methods? These are predefined functions that can be used to manipulate and interact with strings in JavaScript. Some of them are the first one is length. It returns the length of a string. So let us try and use it. So I have a new project here. So let's have let first name be equal to
Sorry, sorry,
Emma.
sir. Can you please zoom in?
Sorry, is it clear?
Yeah, yeah, it's okay.
So first name is equal to Emmanuel, right? So this is a string that we have. So let us use the dot length feature. So let's do console.log first name dot length like this. dot length. So if we go back to our browser and our console and we refresh, you see that our the value that we get is 9. So that is the length of the string 9. So that's what the dot length um string method does. We also have another one called to uppercase. This basically converts the string to uppercase values. So normally we have everything in lowercase. So if you want to convert it to uppercase, we use the dot to uppercase like this. So if we refresh, you see that we have Emmanuel to uppercase like this. We also have to lowercase, which does the opposite, converts it all to lowercase. Then we have dot trim. Dot trim removes excess white space. It also removes elements specified within brackets. So trim. So it's assuming we have Emmanuel like this. This is still a string. So let's say we console.log first name like this. If we come back, you you see that we have you see if we highlight this Emmanuel, you can see that this excess white space, and you can see that the dot length has increased from 9 to 12 because we have 3 white spaces inside. But what if we want to trim it, remove excess white space? The way we do that, we use the dot trim method. So if we come here and say dot first name dot trim like this, and we save it, if we come back here, you see that Emmanuel has gone back to 9 characters, but the 12 is still here because, so if you do dot trim dot length like this, so you see that we are back to 9 characters here. So that's how it works. So if you notice, look at what I did here. This they call this chaining, where you chain. We first trim this, then we got the length. This is called chaining, where we can use multiple methods. We can use multiple methods. We can use multiple methods following each other. So we can do first name dot to uppercase dot to trim dot to length. So that's what they call chaining. Chain chaining like this. Chaining methods. So yeah. So the next one I'm going to be looking at is includes. This checks if a string contains a specified value. It returns true or false. So let us say something like first name dot includes, then we pass in a string. So let's say it includes man like this, right? And obviously it includes man because we see man here in Emmanuel. So if we save this and go back to our browser, we see that we have true because it includes man. But what if we put something like this? We should see false. You see that we get false now because that string is not included in Emmanuel. So I think it's not case sensitive. No, it's actually case sensitive. So you see how we have capital letters for man. It's it returns false to us because it is case sensitive. Because what we have here is small letters, so it has to be exactly same. So that's why it returns false to us. So those are some JavaScript, those are some string methods that we have. So we also have index of. This returns the index of the first occurrence of a specified value. So let us try this. Console.log first name dot index of. So let's say of the first instance. So let's look at M. No, or letter U. Let's see the index of U. So if you go back and check it, you see that we have an index of 6. So the way indexes work is that it works from zero. Index starts from 0. So our letter E is 0. So E is 0. M is 1. The second M is 2. Then the third, I spelled this thing wrongly. So then A is 3. N is 4. U is 5. E is 6. L is 7. Right? So if you go back and you check it, you see that I'm coming. Let me just do this. So if you go back, you see that the index of U is at 5, and that's what we have here. So U is at 5. So it starts from 0 till the end. It doesn't start from 1. So that's how you can get the index of, and we'll be using more of indexes in arrays and strings. So you can see it. The next thing we have is dot slice. So dot slice extracts a section, and okay, remember what we said, for the index of, it takes the first occurrence. So if you want to check for M now, you know there are two M's here. So it's going to take the first M, and that first M is going to be at index what? 1. So if you do this and you see that the index is at 1, right? So the same thing with E, letter E. Letter E is going to be at, it's not going to look at this one at 6. It's going to check, it's going to pick up the first one, that is one at 0. So if we come back here and we check it, you see that it's at index 0. So that's how the index of method works. The next one is the slice. So we said the slice extracts a section of a string and returns it as a new string. It takes two parameters, the start and the end. And this is how it works. Right? So let us use the slice method. So we have first name. Please, can you guys give me a minute? Okay, sorry for the interruption. I'm back. So we're talking about the slice method. So if we use dot slice like this, we need to specify a starting index and an ending index. So it's going to slice from that start to before the end. So let us say we want to slice from 1 till 4, right? So sorry, from 0 to 4. So we see at 0 we have E, at 4 we have N. But the way the slice works is that it's going to slice from where you indicated the start up till the end, up to before the end. So that means it's not going to include the ending number. You get me? The only end is 4. So it's not going to include this 4. It's going to include 3, 2, 1, and 0. That's how it works. If we say from 1 till 7, it's going to include 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But it's not going to include 7, because that's how the slice works. So With this slice, we're expecting index 0, 1, 2, and 3, but not 4. So if you check this out, you see that we have EMME. You get me? So EMME. So we are not including this 4. It's only from the beginning to before the end. So that's how it works. So for this slice method, we can also include we have instance where we can only pass in one, we can pass in one value. You hear me? So let's say we want to pass in 5. What does 5 do? Only one number. What does it do? It takes from that index up till the end. You get me? It takes from the index you specify till the end when you pass in one value. So we have index 5 at u. So it's going to read from u till the end. That is 5, 6, and 7. That's why you see UEL here. That's how that works. We can also pass in negative values. So what if we want to like this? So we can pass in a negative value like, let's say, -4. What does -4 do? What -4 does is that it basically gives us the last four elements, the last four indexes. So that is going to be 7, 6, 5, and 4. That's what it does. So if we save it, we should see NUEL. So if you come down here, you see that that's what we have here. So that is what passing in a negative value means. I don't know if that's clear. Does anybody have any question on these methods? Okay.
Yes, talking about index of, is there any way whereby we can target maybe this the second number too, in the situation whereby there is like two identical numbers like Emmanuel, we have two M. Is there any way we can target both the two M's?
No, I don't think so. It just targets the first one.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Mm, okay. Mhm. So yeah, so does anybody have any other question? Okay, so if there's no question, we can move on. So let's look at the split. This splits a string into an array of substrings based on a specified separator, e.g., split at comma splits the string based on comma. So let us do something like that. So let's say we have um let's say we have full let full name be equal to, let's say, OShioke Salaki, right? So we have this as the full name. So if we want to split this, we can split this string based on this hyphen. So this hyphen is going to act as a separator. So let us do, so we say full name dot split like this. Then we pass in a string that we want to use as a separator. So this string can be anything. So we're going to use this hyphen here as a separator. So it's going to break this into an array. And what it's going to give us basically is going to give us something like this. An array. The first thing is going to have OShioke, is going to have Salaki like this. So you see that the hyphen acts as the separator. Do you guys understand? So that's how it works. So if we consider log this and see it, we can see that this, so you can see that's how the array comes out. It comes out separated for us. It comes out separated. We can use anything as a separator. Maybe we can even use this space. There's a white space here. We can use this space as a separator. What we just do is that we just put an empty space in in the string. And if we refresh, we still have the same division. So that's how it works. You can even do it in such a way that we are going to separate it by letter, by each of the letters. So you see that we're not having any space. So what this basically means is that every letter should be its own element in the array. So if you come back here, you see that we have this. Everything has its own. Every, all the letters are on their own. And if you notice here, we also have this white space. This white space is also an element in the array. You guys understand? So that is how the split works. So you can split it based on comma, hyphen, space, empty string, and so on. You can even split it based on letters. So what if you want to split it based on, let's say the letter I, or let's say looking for a letter that is very common. Let's say letter S. Want to split it based on letter S. So if you are looking at this thing, let's try and split it manually by letter S, right? So we have this S here, we have another S here. So we're going to split it. So this O is going to have its own element. Then the next one, S is going to separate it here. So we're going to carry from here to here because it's an S here, so it's going to separate it. So we're going to have another string here like this, comma. This S is going to separate this part from this part. So we're going to have this one here again, like this. So this is what we are going to have basically when we are splitting with the letter of S. So if we now refresh our page, you can see that that is exactly what we have here in this array. So that's how splitting works in JavaScript strings. Is this method clear? If it's clear, can you leave a thumbs up? So yeah, so that's how splitting works in JavaScript. So the next one I'm going to be looking at is replace. So this replaces some or all matches of a pattern in a string with um, with a replacement, e.g., replace pattern replacement. So how does this replace work? So let's see. We have CLG full name dot replace. So let's say we want to replace this Salaki. Maybe I've gotten married or something. Let's say we want to replace it with Janet like this, right? So if we now check it, what does it output to us? So you see now it has changed from Oshuke Salaki to Oshuke Janet. So that is basically how the replace works. You replace a particular string in the main string with another string. So that's what it does. So this replace method looks for this Salaki text within the main text and replaces it with what we have specified here. So that's how the replace method works. So is it clear? Does anybody have any question with the methods we have done so far? Does anybody have any question? So I think it's clear. So let me just do a small recap. So we said that the first thing is the dot length. Dot length returns the length of a string. Then we have to uppercase. It's self-explanatory. It returns an uppercase. It returns all the characters in uppercase. To lowercase does the opposite. It returns all the characters in lowercase. Dot trim removes any excess white space from a text, from a string. Dot includes checks whether a string contains a specified value and it returns true or false. And dot index of returns the index of the first occurrence of a specified value. So in this dot index of, we can actually, I don't know if I mentioned that it doesn't have to be a single character. It can actually be this man here. It can be man like this. We have man. So where does this man start from? It starts from 0, 1, 2. It's going to return 2 for us. because that is where the man starts. So if you come here, let me so you can see index of man like this. So if you go back to our browser, you can see that the index of man starts at 2, as we have seen here, 0, 1, 2. So it can be one letter, or it can be a whole string. So it doesn't have to be a single character for index of. So even the same thing for this split. This split does not have to be a single character. You can use multiple things to split a string. So yeah. So slice extracts a section of a string and returns it as a new string. It takes two parameters, the start and an end. Then we have the split. It's a string, it splits a string into an array of substrings based on a specified separator. Then we have the dot replace, which replaces which which replaces some or all matches of a pattern in a string with a replacement. So that is it for strings and their some of their methods. So another we have another one. So we also have other string methods. So let's see. So if you want to know the other string methods, you just need to put a string, then put dots. You're going to see a lot of methods that are associated with strings. So in the same way we have index of, we also have last index of. So you know how index of returns the first occurrence, last index of returns the last occurrence of a substring. Then we have dot ends with, we have dot concat, we have dot concat, we have pad. So let us look at some of this. So let us look at dot concat. I know I mentioned dot concat before. So let's say we want to concat. Concat basically means to append a string to the end of a string. So let's say at the end of this OShioke Salaki, let's say I want to concat is a developer like this, right? Let's consider log this CLG like this, right? So if you come back to our browser, we can see you can see that the string that we specified has been appended to the main string. So that's how the concat method works. We also have a method called pad start and pad end. So let's say in this Emmanuel, all so let me give you a very good example of when we use that pad start and pad end. Let's say we have the serial number now. Um let num be equal to 1, right? Let it be equal to 1. But let's say we have an application where we have a table and we want to be writing, the table has a serial number 1, 2, 3, 4, but we don't want it to be showing 1 like this. We want it to be having things like 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. Then maybe we not have 10. We want it to be double digits. We don't want to have a situation where we just have 1, 2, 3. You get? So this is a very good example of when we want to use a method called pad starts, um, pad starts and pad end like this. So what does pad starts mean? Pad starts means you are basically adding a new character to the front. You are padding the string. You are padding the string to the front with something. Then pad end is the opposite. It means that you're adding a substring. It's like you are prefix and suffix. You are prefixing a string at the beginning and you are adding another string at the end. That's what pad. So let me just do it to show you what I mean. So we can have something like this console.log, and we want num dot pad start, right? This takes in two parameters. It takes in the maximum length that we want, and we want the length to be 2. And what are we filling it with? We want to fill it with 0. like this, right? So this is what we are doing. So let us see what it returns. So you see that it returns 0, 1 for us. You get me? So this is a very practical example of when you need to to pass something at the front or at the back. Another another this thing Another example where you'd want to pad something in front. A practical example is maybe we have we have this phone name here. We want to put whether he's a Mr. or Mrs. without having a table. You know, in a table now we can have name, sex, and so on. But what if we don't want to have that sex column? We want people to just know the sex by reading either Mr. or Mrs. So the way you do that is that you can just so you can pad this full name with either Mr. or Mrs. So the way you do it is that you do console.log, you see full name, the pad starts like this. So I don't think this is a good example. This is not a good example. You can't do it like that because you need to put a maximum number. So basically, as you build in as you build applications, right, you're going to see instances where you can use this pad start and pad end. So let's leave that. So in the end, we can actually, so let me show you how the end works. So the same way, instead of adding the 0 at the front, it's going to add it at the back. So if you go back here, you see that we now have 10 instead of 1. So that's how it works. So that's how pad start and pad end works. So let me quickly show you guys one. So, in case you're looking for a place here where you want to practice all these things you are learning, all these JavaScript, so that you can practice more and maybe solve challenges in JavaScript, I recommend you go to this place called Code Wars. So this will put your JavaScript knowledge to the test. So login. Sorry. So yeah, so you can look for challenges with JavaScript, and you can see okay, let's see train like this. So you can see how we have this challenge. Your goal in this kata is to implement a difference function which subtracts one list from another and returns the results. So you see, so you have this type of JavaScript challenges that you make you like that will make you stronger in your JavaScript journey. So so you guys can just go to codewars.com and try it out yourself and try and solve some challenges personally. So I don't know, is there any question with past start or part end from any of us? Is there any question? Okay, so there's no question. So let's go to arrays. That's the next thing we're going to be looking at, arrays. What are arrays? Arrays are ordered collection of values that can be of any data type, including strings, numbers, booleans, objects, and even other arrays. Arrays are used to store and manipulate multiple values in a single variable. So that's what array is. So that's what an array is. So an array is basically a collection of the same type. That's what an array is. So we have um we have we have two ways of creating arrays. We have the array literal syntax. This is the common way used to creating an array. So let's create an array ourselves. So let's say we have const boy names or girl names, right? And we have Tabitha, we have Carla, we have um Veronica, we have um we have Catherine. like this, right? So if you save this, so this is an array of strings. And currently now we have 4 items in this string. In this array. So this is how you can create an array. Another another way you could create an array is that you make use of the array constructor. This is the creating of arrays using the array constructor. So this one is not commonly used. So let's say you want to create um boy names like this. Boy names. So we see equal to let's say John, Victor, Bruce, um Salvatore, um Salvatore. I think this should be okay. So we have these names now. So the way you create it is that you do new array like this, and you just so you're supposed to pass. So array is a class. So this is how you instantiate it. So more on classes later. So this is another way of creating an array. So and if you console or log the both of them, they come out the same way. So boy names like this. So if you go back here, you see that we have so you can see that we have our 2 arrays here, right? So yeah, so that's how you create arrays in JavaScript. So now, so let's accessing array elements. Elements in an array can be accessed using their index, which starts at 0. The first element of an array is always accessed by using index 0. So remember what we said in strings. Strings are also like arrays. Strings are actually arrays because you can perform the same operations that you can you perform the same operations you can in arrays with strings. So yeah, I remember when I said that you want to access an element, you start from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 and so on. So for example now, let's say we want to access color. We want to print out color. The index of color right now is at 1 because Tabitha is 0, color is 1, Veronica is 2, Catherine is 3. So if we want to access color, what we'll do is that we'll do console.log girl names square brackets, then the index that we want to access. So let's say 2, like this. So if we go back to our browser, you see that we have indexed Veronica. So that is Veronica that has been brought out. And if we want to index the first one, we can do 0 like this. And this gives us Tabitha. So this is how you can index. So apart from using, you can also use minus values. So if we say -2, what this means is that we want the second to the last element. So second to the last element is what? Veronica. So if we come back here, we should see that we index Veronica. So you see it gives us minus. This should work. -1 like this. So I guess it doesn't work that way. You need to actually put in the values. So we can only put in positive values. So we have Catherine. So this is how you can access elements in an array. So does anybody have any question? Or does anybody want me to go over anything? If I
Yeah, can you please go over the arrays again?
the arrays.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So basically, what did I say arrays are? Arrays are basically collection of items that have the same data type. So they can be strings, So you can have an array of strings, array of booleans, array of numbers, and so on. So that is what an array is, right? And we now talked about two ways of creating arrays. Arrays are basically elements that are contained within square brackets. So the first way of creating arrays is like this. So within square brackets, we put in elements separated by a comma. So in this instance now, we have an array of strings. So we have this first string, comma, the next string, comma, the next string, comma, the next string. So this is how we create an array, right? We can also use the array constructor to create an array, which we say new array. Then within circle brackets, we pass in the elements of that array that we want. So we have John, Victor, Bruce, and Salvatore, right? So this is how you can create an array. These are the two ways. But this first way is the most commonly used way of creating an array. So we now talked about accessing array elements. And the way you access array elements is through their index. And as I said before in strings, it's the same way in arrays where we start access the index of an array starts from 0 up to the end. So if you're looking at this first array, we can see that Tabitha's index is at 0, Carla's index is at 1, Veronica is at 2, and Catherine is at 3. So that's how the index works. So it works from 0 upwards. So if we want to access an array, elements of an array, we put the array name, then square brackets, then we put the index that we want to access. So either we access 1, 0, 2, 3, and so on. So that is how it is. So is that clarifying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so does anybody else have any other question? So if there's no other question, we can move forward. Um, so we have common JavaScript array methods. So JavaScript provides a variety of built-in methods for manipulating arrays, and below are the most commonly used array methods. So they are divided into three. We have the mutating methods, the non-mutating methods, and iteration methods. So for mutating methods, we have the following. The first one we have is push. So these are methods that change the original array. So the first method we have is push. Push adds one or more elements to the end of an array and returns the new length. You just give me a second. So so yeah. So for the push adds one or more elements to the end of the array and returns the new length. So for example, for this girl's name, imagine we want to add a new element. So the way we'll do that is that we'll do girl names dot push like this. So okay. So push. So we pass in an array of what we want to push in. So let us see. Okay. Does anybody is it a question? So the push. Let's say we want to push in Ola or Sophia like this. If we push in Sophia and we console.log girl names now, we'll see that the array has been modified. So no, we're not supposed to pass in an array. We're supposed to just pass in the string that we want to push, right? So if we pass in the string, you see that Sophia has been added to our array now. And when you push, normally, normally we do this, we console.log this, usually console.log. But what the push method returns is that it returns the length, the new length. And before the length was 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That was the length of the array. But now when we push, it's going to return 5. So it returns 5. So that means this is our new array length. So, so this is how the push method works. It basically adds new elements to the back of the array. So we can also pass in multiple. We can also pass in things like Julie, like this. You see, Julia, Sophia and Julia has been added, and you can pass in multiple elements that you want to be pushed to the array. Then we have the pop. This removes the last element from an array and returns that element. That's what the pop method does. So if we do, after we've added Sophia and Julie, if we pop the last element is now Julie, right? So if we do um, girls names dot pop like this, we don't need to pass in anything. So if you pop it, you see that Julie is no longer part of the array right here. It stops at Sophia. And if we pop again, Sophia is going to be removed. So you see that Sophia and Julie is no longer part of this array again. So that's what the pop method does. Then we have the shift. The shift removes the first element from the array and returns that element. So pop and shift are basically the opposite. So pop removes the last element and returns it, while shift removes the first element and returns it. So if we do girl names dot shifts like this and does not take in any argument, the first element is Tabitha. So Tabitha is no longer going to be returned. So if you come here and check it, you see, sorry, you see that Tabitha is no longer part of the array. It starts from Carla and ends at Catherine. So that is how shift works. The next thing is on shifts, which means it adds one or more elements to the beginning of an array and returns the new length. So we can see that push and unshift are the opposites. While push adds one or more elements to the end of the array, unshift adds one or more elements to the beginning of the array and returns the new length. They both return the new length. So for unshift now, we can see girl names dot unshift like this. Let's say we want to add what a nice girl names that we have. We have Nala, then maybe we have Moni, and we have maybe Effie or Lauren like this, Lauren. So these names are going to be added to the beginning of the array. So if you go back to our browser and we check it, you see that Nala, Moni, and Lauren have been added to the beginning of the array. So that's how the unshift works, right? Then the next thing we have the splice method. The splice method adds or removes elements from an array at a specific index. So splice. Okay. So we have girl names. Um, we have girl names to splice, right? So so this basically so this removes elements from an array and if necessary inserts new elements in their place, returning the deleted elements. So for example, so for this splice now, we have there are three elements. There are three elements, but there are three arguments, but the third argument is optional. So let's say for this, what this splice does is maybe we want to remove. So currently our array looks like this. And what if we want to remove Lauren and Carla? So that means we're going to be removing from 2 to 4. So that removes Lauren and Carla. So we say 2, 4 like this. So if you go back, so if you so we splice it. Um, so I think it removes elements from an array, and if necessary, um, okay. So let's say 1, right? Mm. Um. So this splice is a bit tricky. So just give me a moment. Let me look at what happened. So we remove Lauren. Okay. So the way the splice works a bit more different than the it works a bit more different than the slice method. So what this splice method does is that we pass in a start arguments. So that's a starting index. Then we pass in the number of elements that we want to be removed, starting from that starting index. So in this array now, I want to start from index 2, which is Nala. Nala is 0, Monet is 1, Lauren is 2. Then from this Lauren, we want to remove one element, which is only going to remove Lauren. But if we pass in 2 elements, that means we want to remove both Lauren and Carla. So if we say 2, 2 like this, you see that in this second array, Lauren and Carla have been removed. If we pass in 3 elements, it's going to start counting from Lauren again. Lauren 1, 2, and 3. So it's going to remove those 3 elements like this. So you see, that is how the splice method works. So that's how the splice method works. So then we can replace those elements with other things, right? So currently now we've removed 3 elements, right? So what if we want to replace those elements with um we have Ose, we have Amaka, we have maybe Fola, right? So we're replacing those 3 elements with we are replacing the 3 elements we've removed with these other ones. So if we now come back and refresh, you see that we've replaced Lauren, Carla, Carla, and Veronica with Ose, Amaka, and Fola. That's how the splice method works. So I know maybe some people have questions regarding this method. Is it clear?
Sorry, can you please try and just explain that last part again? It's not really clear.
Okay. So let us look at this splice method. So let us use I think we should use the boy names for this splice method, right? So remember, these are the boy names, right? Splice method. CLG boy names. So this is before splicing, right? Then we have after splicing. Mhm. So yeah. So basically, what this splice does is that it basically removes elements for us. So we have boy names like this. Boy names or splice. So the first thing we are going to pass in is the starting index. Let's say, so let's go back to our and see. So these boys now, what if in a case we want to start removing elements from Victor, right? We want to start removing elements from Victor. So Victor, what is the index of Victor here? Who can tell me the index of Victor in this array?
1.
1. So we want to pass, want to start from 1. Then the next thing I'm going to pass is how many elements starting from Victor do you want to remove? So it can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4. So what if we want to remove 2 elements starting from Victor? Which means that it's going to remove both Victor and Bruce because we're removing 2 elements. So if you do 1, 2, that removes 2 elements for us. That is Victor and Bruce. So if we now refresh, we will see that those 2 elements have been removed. So if you go back, you see that this is our new array. Because Victor and Bruce have been removed, we only have John and Salvatore remaining. You get me? If you now say we want to remove both like this, if we want to remove 3 elements, right? We're removing 3 elements. That means we're removing the last 3. We're removing Salvatore, including we're removing Victor, Bruce, and Salvatore. That's why we only have John remaining. So that's how the splicing works. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's how the splicing works. But what if, but in an instant, maybe you want to replace what we are removing? We cannot add in a third. We cannot add in multiple arguments. Let's say in the place of those ones that we've removed, we want to add John. We want to put Jake, and we want to also put maybe Oswald. Also like this, right? So if we now come back here, we can see that we have now added 3 more elements to what we had before. So that is basically how splicing works. Does anybody have any question? Okay. So if that is clear, let's go to the our next one. So we also have slice. We've spoken about slice before, but let's talk about it again. This returns a shallow copy of a portion of an array into a new array. So we can say console.log girl names dot slice, right? This slice, maybe we want from 0, or let's say we want -3, which means we want the last three girls. So if we come back to our browser, you can see Carla, Veronica, and Catherine, because this is our latest girls here. So the last 3 are Carla, Veronica, and Catherine. Normally, slice takes in 2 elements, the beginning and the starting. So if you want to take from maybe the index of 1 till 5, remember what I said, that it does not take the last index, it takes from the starting to before the ending. So it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but it does not take 6. That is how the slice method works in JavaScript, right? So yeah, so that's how it works. Does anybody have any question on the slice method? So I guess there's no question. So the next one we'll be going over is the concat. So this merges 2 or more arrays into a new array. That's what the concat does. So the way you could do the concat is that um, so you can say girl names dot concat, and you have to pass in a new array. You pass in an array of the same type. So let's say we want to add 2 more girls. Let's say Stephanie and Chisom, like this. So if you now go back, um, let me see, console log girl names again. So you see that so I think we need to console log this. That is, so you see that we've added the new elements, Stephanie and Chisel. That is what the concat does. The same thing for strings. It basically morphs two arrays into one array. That is what the concat does. So the next thing is the join. So this joins all elements of an array into a single into, into a string separated by a specific delimiter. So remember when we talked about split? Let me look for it. Split. Where did we do it? So remember when we did this? Remember when we did this split here, right? Where we splitted by let's split by this white space. And if we console.log full name like this, split, I think okay, so yes, so we have this console splits like this. No, sorry, this is not what I'm supposed to do. Right? So we have this split here. So you see that we splitted it into an array. But what if we want to now join it back together? So the way you do it is that under here, you do full name dot join, right? Then this dot join, how do we want to join it? It's basically the same thing. Maybe it, what do we want to use to join it? So we need to pass in a string. So we want to use a white space to join the two items together. So you can just see join like this. So this is how the join works. So it's now going to join the elements back together. So we have to split it first. So this is the training I was talking about. So you need to split before you join. So you see that the two elements have been joined together. That's how the join works in JavaScript. So you can split it, then you later join it back. So that is how join works. So is there any question? Or you can join it using, instead of using an empty space, you can join it using comma like this. If you go back, you see that it has been joined using comma, or you can use maybe slash like this. So it has been joined using a slash. So that's how it works. So is there any question? So yeah, this is how array method works. So in next one, we have iteration method. These methods allow you to iterate over elements of an array. So the first one we are going. So what does iterate mean? Iterate means like loop. It means you can loop over. And have you guys been taught loops in? Have you guys been taught loops, for loops, while loops? Have you guys been taught loops? So you guys know about loops, break, continue, and so on. So perfect. So that's what the iterate does. It iterates, helps you to iterate over arrays. So the first one I'm going to be looking at is the for each method, which executes a provided function once for each array element. So now with our girl names, in a situation where we want to consider log each of the girl names, what we'll do is that girl names dot for each, then we pass in the value. So let's say for each girl like this, we want to console.log the girl. You get. So what is this item here basically represents each element in the array. Each, you can name it anything. You can name it, X, you can name it Y, you can name it I, you can name it current, but it makes more sense to name it girl because we are looping through each girl names now. So you can just call it girl or girl name, each girl name. So we're saying for each girl name, we want to console.log it. I don't know why is this not working. Oh, that is for each girl name, we want to console.log it. So if we go back to our browser, you see that each of the names are console.logged here. So that's how the for each element. So that's how the for each method works. And you can use it to do plenty things. There are a lot of things that you can use it to do. So, but this is how you use it. So the next thing, we have the dot map. This creates a new array populated with the results of calling a provided function on every element in the calling array. So, um, so for example, let's say we have an array. Let's create a new array. Let's call it ages, right? And we want let's say we have 12, 13, 12, 11, 14, 15, 16, 18. So let's say this is an array of ages, student ages, right? And we want to calculate how old each of them are going to be in maybe 5 years. So we want to have a new array of their ages in the next 5 years to come. So the way that will work is that we'll use the map method. So we'll say ages dot map. I think the first thing we should do is that let's talk about arrow functions first before moving to um these methods. Because I don't know, have you guys been taught arrow functions?
No, sir, we've not been taught of.
Okay, so let me just, because this is an arrow function. So let's just take a break first and go to arrow functions. So what are arrow functions? Arrow functions are basically functions that allow you to write shorter function syntax. They are especially useful for writing anonymous functions and are commonly used in functional programming paradigms, such as when working with methods like map, filter, and reduce. So syntax of arrow functions. So the way arrow functions are, so this is the basic syntax of an arrow function. You have the curly braces like this. So they are basically functions that we can use to write. It makes our function shorter. So let's say we have let age be equal to 12, and let's say we want to calculate age like in next 5 years. So the way you do it normally is that you write const age after 5 years like this, right? You now have to say function this, then this you now have to write age like this, then you now say return age plus 5. So this is how it works normally. So if you want to call this function, we'll say age, we'll say console.log age after 5 years. Then we now pass in age, that is 12. Or let's just pass in 12 directly here. Right? So if we now come back here, we'll see that we have 17 here. But this is kind of too long now for one function. So the way arrow functions work is that we can now redefine this. We can say const age after 5 years like this. They will pass in an arrow function like this. So we pass in age, they will say age plus 5 like this. So you can see how we modified this 3-line function into just one line like this. And if we go back, you see that it still gives us our value of 17 here. So these arrow functions help us to create anonymous functions that are shorter. So it has basically three main parts. We have the parameter, parentheses where we pass in the parameters in these circle brackets. And in this instance, we only have one parameter. Then we have our arrow. The arrow is basically an equal sign and the greater than sign. Then we have the right hand side, which is the return. So if you know that, so you basically use arrow functions when you know that you are when you basically have one return line. That means a situation where you only have one line in your function. So maybe, so like in this function, we only have one line. We don't have a sequence of steps where we first calculate something. Then we have 5 lines here in our function body. If we just have one line, we can just modify it into an arrow function. So that's how arrow functions work. But in situations where maybe you have multiple lines and you want to use this arrow function syntax, you need to put it within curly braces. Then in the end of all your computation, you need to use the return keyword. So age plus 5 like this. So this is how you can use arrow functions. And arrow functions are basically used within like array functions. So that's how it basically works. So we have the function parameter, the function arrow, and the function body, as I've mentioned before, right? Then we have simple examples. So in a situation where we don't have any parameters, if there are no parameters, you can omit the parentheses. So this is how so this is how so this is a situation where you have an arrow function that does not have any okay, that does not have any parameters. You can just use this circle bracket empty, the arrow, then your function body. Then we have a single parameter. A single parameter, when there's only one parameter, you can omit the parentheses around it. So in a situation where you only have one parameter, we don't even need, like this situation here, where we only have age, we don't need to put it within parameters like this. We can just write age arrow, then back to the way we put it, we can just do age plus 5. So you can see how easier it is. But my code editor, I've configured it in such a way that it always puts parameters, even though it's one parameter. So that's how single parameters work. Then we have multiple parameters. So if there are multiple parameters, you must include it within the parentheses. Then we have the block body. If you need to execute multiple statements, you can use a block body, which requires an explicit return statement. So we have explicit and implicit return statements. In a situation like this, we have an implicit return statement, which means that JavaScript automatically returns the value for you. But whenever you're using a block statement like this, you need to explicitly tell JavaScript what to return. That means you need to be the one to manually tell JavaScript what to return. That's why we do return age plus 5. So this is how we explicitly return. So that is just the difference. So that is basically how arrow functions work. Does anybody have any question regarding arrow functions? Or is it clear? Okay. So if it's clear, we can move on we can go back to what we're talking about for each. So In this for each now, you can see how we use this arrow function. So we pass in the parameter, then the arrow, then the function body, where we console.log the girl name, right? So that's how this for each works. Now we're going to look at the map method. So the map method, I said, assuming maybe we want to return a new array of ages, but we want it to be ages that after 5 years or 6 years. So we do ages.map like this. So we pass in an arrow function here like this. So in this map now, we are going to be mapping through each age. We're going to map through each age. And for each age, the age should be, we want to return age plus 10. So you see how we use the arrow function here again. So for each of these ages, we want to return each of them increased by 10. So that's how it works. So if we let's see if we console.log this, right? So if you check it, so you see that we've returned so 22, 13, 20, 22, 21, 24, 25, 26, 28. So you see each of these elements have been increased by 10. So that's how the map method works. So this map method takes in two arguments. It takes in the current element and it also takes in the index like this, the index. So the index starts from 0, 1, 2, 3. So imagine we want to do age plus I. So the first one is going to be added by, so 12 plus 0 is still 12. 13 plus 1 is 14. 12 plus 2 is 14. So that's how it's going to increase. So if you go back, you see how it is being increased by each of the indexes. So that is how it works. So it takes in two arguments, but the second argument is optional. So you can only use, so yeah, if you want to only use the first argument, you can use it. And if maybe you want to use the second argument, but you're not using the first argument, the way you do it is that you can skip over that argument by using this underscore, then you pass in I like this. So let's say you want to console.log I. You want console.log I. You see that we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's how it works. Right? So yes, that's how you can make use of the map method in JavaScript. Is it clear? Does anybody have any question? Okay. So yeah. So for each, so how the for each works. So that's how the map works. So the map creates a new array populated with the result of calling a provided function on every element in the array. That's how we work. Then we have the filter. The filter, like the way we do, like in normal convention, if you have maybe a bowl of maybe sand and we have sand, a bowl of sand and maybe vegetables. And we can sieve out the sand by using a sieve. So as we shake it, the sand filters out and we have the vegetables only. So that's how it works in arrays. So we create an array with all elements that pass a test implemented by the provided function. So let us filter again. So let's say console.log, we have ages dot filter like this, right? So we want to filter in the current. So we pass in the current. So we pass in the current or we use age. So we want to filter all the ages and we want to return. What do we want to return? We want to return ages that are greater or equal to 16 or 15. So this is the test we are providing. So we are filtering for ages that are greater than or equal to 15. So if we now go back to our browser, you see that we have 15, 16, and 18. So that is how the filter method works in JavaScript. So we provide a test in the function to test for what we want to filter out. So maybe if you can also do less than or equal to 15, you see that we have a new array. We have 12, 13, 12, 11, 14, and 15. So that's how it works. Is the filter method clear? So in the filter also takes in two arguments. We have the age and the I, the index also, the current element and the index. Does anyone have any question? Uh, does anybody have any question? Okay, so that is so if that is clear, we can move on to the next method, which is the reduce. So this executes a reducer function on each element of the array, resulting in a single output value. So it basically reduces our array to a single value. And an example of how a reduce method can be used is what example of where we have an array of ages and we want to know the total or the maybe we want to know the total age of your class, or you want to know the average age, or so on. We can use the reduce method. I want to know the maximum age, right? We can use the reduce. So let's, for example, what if you want to get the average age in your class? So the way that will work is that we do console.log, we have ages dot reduce. And reduce is different because it takes in three arguments. It takes in an argument called the accumulator. It takes in the current value and it takes in the index. So these are the three arguments it takes. The accumulator, I'm going to show you. So the reduce takes in two arguments. It takes in the function and it takes in the accumulator, the final value. So the final value is going to be let's say um let's say we want to get the total. Let's say we want to get the total ages. So let's start with 0. So instead of console, let's say we want const or let total ages like this be equal to ages dot reduce. So we're not going to say, as we are looping through each of the ages, we want the accumulator to be increasing by the current age. So accumulator plus age like this. So this is how it works. So by the end of this computation, I think I'm coming. So by the end of this computation, we should have a total age. So let's say console.log total ages like this. So if we do total ages, so if we go to our browser and check it, our total ages is 111, right? And if you want to get the average, you can say console.log total ages divided by ages dot length. So average age like this. So you see that the average age is 13.875. So that is how you can get the average, and that's how you can use the reduce method in JavaScript. So is that clear? Does anybody have any question? Um, does anybody have any question? Okay, Jethro.
So what does the accumulator do? Like, I'm not clear about that.
Okay. Awesome. So basically, what the accumulator does is that it basically serves as a so currently, initially, our accumulator is set at 0, depending on what we want to do. So currently now we want to get the total ages, right? So this our accumulator is set at 0 initially. So with every iteration, we want to add to this accumulator, right? That means we want to add every age to this accumulator. So let me look. So in our ages now, like this, initially it's going to be 0, but when it iterates to 12, it's going to add this 12 to 0. So the new accumulator is going to be what? 12. It's not going to go to the next one, 13. It's going to add this 13 to the new accumulator, which is 12. So 12 plus 13, that is what? 25. And it's going to go to 12 again. 25 plus 12, that is going to be 37, and so on and so on. That is basically what the accumulator does. So so this function here basically it manipulates the accumulator in the end, because we are passing in the so this is the current accumulator, and for every iteration we want to add the current accumulator to the age, to the current age. So that is basically how it works. Is that clear, Jethro? Is it clear? So cool. Does anybody have any other question? So if you don't have any other question, we can go to the next thing, which is we have the dot find. So the find method, which returns the first element in the array that satisfies the provided testing function. So um, so it basically works with the same as filter, but filter returns all that matches, but find returns just the first element that matches it. So let me look for where we use filter. So in situation where we use find here like this. Let's see, let's do it down here. So we do find. So we want to find an age. We want to find the first age that has. We want to find the first age that is less than or equal to 15, right? And that is going to be 12. That's going to be the first one. So we're going to return the index, I guess. So if we go back, you see that it returns 12. That is the first item. So if that is the first item here. So if we want to return one that is equal to 13, like this, we see that we have 13 here. I thought it was supposed to return the index. Okay, no, it just returns the element. It just returns the element. But we have find index. Find index is one that returns the index of the first elements in the array that satisfies the provided testing function. So if you do find index like this for 13, you see that it's at 1, index 1, because 13 is at index 1 here. So if we say less less than or equal to 13, it will be at index 0 because the first one is 12. So that's how the find and find index function works. The next one is the includes. We're going to check it determines whether an array includes a certain element by returning true or false as appropriate. True or false as appropriate. So we're going to do So we're going to say let's find it does includes. So we're going to check whether it includes this one doesn't pass in a function. Let's check whether it includes age 20. You see that it returns false. So because 20 is not part of the ages array. But let's check whether it returns 12. You see that it returns true because 20 is a part of the array. So that's how this works. Then we have does every. So does every returns true if every element in the array satisfies the provided testing function. So for example, suppose you want to check whether every element in an array is less than 20. How will we do that? So we'll say console.log ages dot every, right? So let's say every age. So age is less than or equal to 20. So this is going to return true because every age in this array, every single age is less than 20 because the lowest is 12 and the highest is 18. So it's going to return true to us like this. So you see that true, we have true. That is what every does. It makes sure that every single one of them satisfies the condition. So let us say is less than or equal to 17. This is going to return false to us because we have an age that is 18. So that means the condition is not satisfied for all the elements. So we see that we have false here. You get me? Then the opposite of every is sum. What does sum do? Unlike every that makes sure that every element satisfies the condition, sum does the opposite in the sense that even if it's just one that satisfies the condition, it's going to return true. So sum, even if it's one, even if it's four, if it's three, so long as at least one satisfies the condition, it's going to return true. So here we want to say ages does sum age less than. So basically saying that do we have some ages that are less than or equal to 17? And the answer is what? True here. That is what the sum does. That was sum does. But in a situation where maybe we don't have any at all that satisfies it, let's say we say greater than 40. So it's going to return false to us also. So we see false here. So that is how sum and every works. Does anybody have any question regarding these two or the ones we've done so far? Does anybody have any question? Um, um, Ruben, Luca, do you have any question?
No, I'm okay.
How about you, Jetro? Goodness, Aisha, Kabir. Do you guys have any question? Aisha, Kabir, and Goodness. I'm not heard from you guys. Aisha, I guess they're not on the call. So, Rufai, how about you? Mm-hmm. All right. So, yeah, I think so. We have some practice questions. So, yes, so this is going to be the last thing we are going to be just the practice questions. So the first practice question we have is we should write a JavaScript function using ES6 arrow syntax to calculate the square of a number. So let's just do that together. So let's say const square number, right? So obviously we're going to be passing in a number to square it. So we have the parentheses with our value. And since we're just squaring a number, that means we're only going to use, we can square a number with one line, right? So we can square a number with one line. So we just do num asterisk num like this. So this is basically how you square a number with arrow function. So if you want to call this function now, we just do square number like this. Then let's say we pass in 12. I think square of 12 is 144. So we go back and check it. You see that we get 144 like this. So that is how we create a function, a squaring number function using ES6 arrow function. So you can see how it's so much easier using arrow function. Before we have to do const square number like this is equal to function num, then we open the square bracket, then we need to return num asterisk num. And that is going to be very tedious. Even though that this is actually very small, we can actually do it like this, but I feel like it's more cleaner and more better using this particular syntax. So yeah, so this is how we do practice question 1. The next one we have is that we should create an array with the values of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and write a code to double each element using map and filter out elements greater than 4 using the filter method. So we're going to using with this practice 2, we're going to use that chaining that we talked about, chaining, method chaining. So the first thing, so we're going to initialize this array. So let's say test array like this is equal to this, right? So we have an array of numbers, and the first thing they say we should do is that we should double each element using map, right? So we console.log, we have test array the map, and for each, so we're going to use the current. For each current value, we want to double. So we return current multiplied by 2. I'm coming. So yeah, we return current multiplied by 2 like this. So if we check it, you see that we'll have 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So if you go back to our browser, you see that's exactly what we have here. So this is how the map works. So we are multiplying each element by 2 and returning a new array of the values. Then the next thing they said we should filter out elements that are greater than 4 using the filter method. So with optional chaining, with method chaining, we can just do after here, we can just do dot filter like this. Dot filter. Then we have current like this. Then we see current. We want values that are greater than 4 like this. So you see how we chain them together. And if we go back, you see that we've gotten our values that are greater than 4 like this. So this is how, so you can see how arrow functions make our work easier. So this is practice question 1. Practice 1. Then we have practice 2. Practice 2 like this. So you see how the practice values work now. Then we have practice 3, which is to define a string const sentence is equal to hello JavaScript. Use string methods to trim the white space, convert it to uppercase, and check if it includes the word JavaScript. So the way we can also use that, we can use the method chaining again here. So practice 3 like this. So we have hello JavaScript. So the first thing that we're supposed to do is that we're supposed to remove excess white space. So you can notice we have a white space here, we have white space here. So the way we remove it is that we do console.log sentence dot trim here. This is how we trim out the white spaces. So if you go to our browser, you see that we have the white spaces have been trimmed from both the front and back. Then the next one that and the next thing that we have is we need to convert it to uppercase, right? So the way we do that, we just at the end of this, we say to uppercase like this, to uppercase. So if you go back, you see that this is now everything is now on uppercase like this. Then the next thing we have to do is that we need to check whether it includes the word JavaScript. So we do dot includes like this. So this is how they wrote it. So who can tell me, is this going to return true or false to us?
True.
It's going to return true. Why do you think it's going to return true?
Because JavaScript is in the sentence, that constant sentence it has been declared, so it will return true.
Okay. So does anybody have any contrary opinion?
Sir,
Yeah.
if we've converted it to uppercase, that means and it includes this JavaScript. If it's case sensitive, then it will return false.
Yeah, so that's actually correct. Because we really converted it to uppercase, everything is going to be in uppercase, and this is not uppercase. So it's going to return false to us because the include is case sensitive. So you see that it returns false to us. Is that clear? It's clear, right? So yeah. Oh, Isa Abdullah is having light issues. So the good news is that it's going to be is the good news is that the class is being recorded, so you can go back to the classes again when you can. So yeah, we're almost done. So this is for practice 3. So you can see how we're able to do everything in one line. So for practice 4, they say we should write a function that takes an array of numbers and returns the sum of all numbers using the reduce method. So practice 4. So we're going to create a function. So let's say const reduce is to the sum, I mean reduce to sum, right? And it takes in a num array, right? It takes in a num array, and in that num array, we want to num array dot reduce like this. And reduce, I said that reduce takes in the first parameter is called what? The accumulator. Then it takes in the current. Then it takes in I. Then we are going to return accumulator plus current like this. Then we do comma 0. because the this is going to start at, because the stuff is going to start at 0, because it's going to start, at because the sum is going to start at 0. So if we refresh it, so it's supposed to be 1R. So this is how we write the function using arrow functions and the reduce method. So let us try and call this function. Let's say reduce to sum. We're now passing an array that has 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this total of this is going to be 3, 6, and 10. So it's going to give us 10. It's supposed to give us 10. So if you go back, you see that we have 10 here. So this is how we can use the reduce method to get. So this is how we can use it. So is this clear? Is this function clear?
Yes, sir.
Eh?
I had a network glitch. Can you please go back again, please?
Okay, so who is talking?
Rufai,
Okay.
Rufai.
Okay. So I said the practice question, it says that we should write a function that takes an array of numbers and returns the sum of all numbers using the reduce method, right? So the first thing we did was that we first defined the function, which is called reduce to sum. Then it takes in a num array. Then we need to return num array dot reduce. Reduce takes in two parameters. It takes in the function and the accumulator. So the accumulator is going to start at 0, right? Then for each of the current value, we want to add the accumulator to the current value like this. So it's going to at the end it's going to reduce to the sum of all the values. So we then call the function that we defined with this array of values, array of numbers, and that gives us 10 here. So that's basically what we did. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So come, just give me some seconds. I need to relocate. So does anybody have any other question? So if there's no other question, we can move to the next practice question. So 5, it says write a function using the default parameters that returns a greeting message. If no name is provided, it should return to the default to guest. So we talked about default parameters being included in ES6. So how we'll do that is this is very simple. So we have const greeting like this, and we need to pass in name, right? Const greeting should be equal to name. Then we have this. Then we see console.log. We use template literals. Hey there. Or we just say hello. Then we use hello name. How is your day going? Like this. So this is how it is. So if we want to call this function now, we do greeting, let's say OShioke, like this, right? So if you go to our browser, you see that it gets, so hey OShioke, how is your day going, right? But in a situation where we want a default value, in case maybe when calling the function they don't pass in any value, what we could do is that we can set a default value. So how do we set default values? You basically just say equal to guest, and say we should set it to guest like this. So this is how we set the false values. Within the parameter scope, we just put the parameter, then we set an equal to. So that's going to be regarded as the default value. So if we go back here, you see that we see hey guest, how is your day going? So that automatically turns it to the default value in case the value for that parameter is not passed. So does anybody have any question regarding this? Is there any question? So if there's no question, we can go to the next one, which is to write a JavaScript function that accepts two parameters, an array of strings and a search term. Use the filter method to return a new array containing only the strings that include the search term. So this is going to be, it sounds complex, but it's not complex. So the way we do it is that we do practice 6. So we say const. So let's have the function should be called search. Should be equal to, we take in two parameters. We take in a string array and we take in search item, right? We take in search item. So we did that. It uses a filter method to return a new array containing only the strings that include the search term. So what we do is that we just do string array dot filter, right? Dot filter, then we have current like this. Then we say current dot includes. So we want to only return, we want to filter out for items that have that where the current item includes the search item. This is basically what we are. So this is basically it. So yeah. So we do search. Let's for this say let's have items that have maybe let's say Steve, Eve, even, electric, stove, evening, like this, right? So these are the items. They want to only return items that have Eve inside them. So automatically, what do we want to return? We want to return Steve, Eve, even, and evening. So these are the only items that have this Eve inside it. So let us console.log it and see what it gives us. So CLG like this. So if we go back, you see that exactly what we said. So this is how we solve this. Steve, Eve, even, and evening. So most of these things are not really hard. They are really, you just have to really think about it because that's how JavaScript is. JavaScript involves a lot of logic and reasoning when trying to approach certain challenges. That's why I highly recommend you. Everyone should register at Code Wars and try out some different katas with the JavaScript knowledge you have so far and just see how you can be able to think about these solutions and practice them. So you guys should register for Code Wars and try out some challenges. So yeah, so this is how it works. So I don't know, is there any question regarding this particular challenge? So in this challenge, we use the arrow function, the filter method, and the includes method, basically. So yeah. So for the last practice, we said create an array of 5 fruits. Then write a code to add 2 fruits using push, remove the last fruit using pop, and add 1 fruit at the beginning using unshift. then print the final array. So this is very easy, and I'm going to be leaving this one for you guys to do. It's very, very easy. But let's just do it together. So practice 7. So let's say const fruits is equal to orange, guava, um, watermelon, then mango, right? So we have these fruits. So the first one is that we need to add 2 fruits using push. So the way we do it is that we just do fruits the push, and we want to push let's say um why all of a sudden all the fruits have left my brain. Cashew. I don't know whether this is a fruit or vegetable, but anyhow, cashew.
Banana.
Yeah, we already have banana. Okay, we don't have banana like this. So we can be constant of logging our progress so far. So fruits. So if you go to our browser, you can see that we already have cashew and banana already added. Then what's the next thing? Then what is the next thing that we want to do? We want to remove the last fruit using pop. So the last fruit now is going to be banana. So we do fruits, the pop like this, and you see that if you go back, banana is no longer included. Then the next thing we want to do is that we need to add one more fruit at the beginning using the on shift and print the final array. So we can just do fruits dot on shift, and to the beginning, what do we want to add? Please, someone should give me another fruit.
Pawpaw.
Purple. Purple. So if you go back, you see that purple has been added to the front. So that is how we do this. So yeah, that is basically it. So that's what we've done today. So what have we even done today? Today we learned about ES6 and all the new features. We talked about strings, string methods such as trim to uppercase includes, index of, slice, split, join, replace, concat, pad start, pad end, and so on. Then we also talked about arrays, the two ways of creating arrays. Then we talked about how to access array elements using their index. Then we talked about array methods such as push, pop, shift, unshift, splice, slice, concat, and so on. Then we also talked about we have for each, map, filter, reduce, length, and so on. Then we talked about arrow functions and how we can use them and how it's much easier for creating functions. Then we looked at some practice questions. So yeah, that's all that we did today. So is there any questions so far on what we've done? Please, is there any question on what we've done so far? So 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 how was the class today? Everyone's your feedback. If I had what do you think about today's class?
Yeah, at least it's better. You've tried and reduce your pace. Like,
What? What do you say?
like I said, you've tried and reduce your pace. Not like,
Okay, I've reduced the pace.
yes, not like the previous week.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay.
So, yeah. How about you, Jetro?
The class is interesting. At first, but I I enjoyed it. It's very practical. And then please, if you can do well to help us with the codes so that as we read we make reference to the practices we do.
Okay, no problem. Does anybody have any other question or any comments?
Okay, sorry, can I say something?
Yeah, you can see.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Oshoke. The class was fantastic. And secondly, to the class, the resources, the material will be dropped on the resource channel on the Discord. So just watch out for it. I'll be dropping it very soon. Is that fine? Okay, no problem. Thank you, Mr. Oshoke.
Yeah. So there's no other question, right? So if there's no other question, that brings us to the end of today's class. Thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate. So you guys should watch. Can go over the recording. If there's anything you want
So
me to clarify. Hello.
yeah, tell them to help us drop the attendance. Oh.
Yeah, please. Ebubi, please can you take note of the attendance?
Okay, just hold on. Okay, it has been dropped. Check. Sorry, let me check. Let me check.
So yeah. So if you guys have any questions, maybe next class we can have. You guys can ask those questions again.
Okay, guys, please just still be on the call so I can get the attendance link for you.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Okay, no problem, Mr. Oshoke. Thank you very much.
Mm.
Okay, sorry, guys. Please just hold on a little so we can get the attendance for you guys.
Mr. Ebubo, we believe in your capacity. We know that these resources will come very early. Trust in your capacity. So we are anticipating to get the resources. Yeah.
Yeah, it's within my capacity. Don't worry, I'll be dropping it for you guys very soon.
Don't get through. No doubt, Mr. Ibuvi. No doubt, our correct submitter.
But what I'll not be sure of is the code base, the one that I solved, Mr. Oshoke solved in the class. So if he sent it to me in time, I'll do for people in time. But the resources of the class is already within my reach. So I'll be sending for you people on the Discord channel. I'm waiting for the attendance team. They're not of them on the call, safe. But no issue, I've taken you guys' name down. So on the community, hope you guys know my name on the community. Just tag me. So I'll be sending to you by personally to your DMs. So you guys can feel it. Is that fine to keep you guys waiting on the call? Is that fine, guys? Okay, no problem. Thank you. So let's all leave the call now. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Why is everybody leaving the class? What's happening?
Hello, Mr. David, can you hear me? I'm Mr. Jeto. Can you guys hear me? Hello? Mr. David and Mr. Jeto, can you hear me?